This presentation will provide you with an update of the Good Shepherd Legacy Project, presented by Taylor Lynch, Community Engagement Coordinator. This presentation will cover the project's background, work conducted to date, the Ministry Center's neighborhood snapshot, the neighborhood's major challenges, the Ministry Center's name change, the Ministry Center's mission, vision, and value statements, and we will conclude with the project's next steps. I'd like to first provide you with a brief background of the project. 3 Adelaide is part of a long history of the church adapting to meet the needs of the community. During the 1890s, the first mission building was located on James Street to serve employees of Dominion Textile at the woolen mill in Kingston, Ontario. As the mission grew and began to serve outlying parts of the city, it was moved to 296 Montreal Street. In 1916, after the mission lapsed for several years, it became a mission of St. George's Cathedral. The mission moved again in 1927 to Cowdy Street. In 1956, the mission became a full-fledged parish, and in 1964, the final church, the Good Shepherd Building, was constructed at Cowdy and Adelaide. In 2012, the Good Shepherd mission became part of Kingston North Ministries, which also included St. Luke's Kingston. Reverend Christine Williams was appointed as pastoral associate. While the church was once home to sports leagues, lunch programs, and a Sunday school serving upwards of 400 children, the congregation has since aged and the programs have dwindled. Eager to maintain an Anglican footprint in the neighborhood, despite an aging congregation, Bishop Michael Olton requested Reverend Christine explore outreach possibilities in a community facing economic challenges. Reverend Christine walked around the neighborhood and spoke to residents. She found the neighborhood to be a mix of retired people, young professionals, young families, and those on social assistance. While typically considered a have-not neighborhood, Reverend Christine observed a mixed economy and increasing gentrification. Reverend Christine's next step was to connect with other community agencies operating in the area. The diocese partnered with Queen's School of Urban and Regional Planning to explore outreach opportunities in the community. After conducting a needs assessment, Queen's students identified affordable housing as a critical need in Kingston North. Based on the students' 2012 recommendations, in 2014, the diocese partnered with Habitat for Humanity to build 3 duplexes and a community ministry center on church property at Cowdy and Adelaide Street. Construction occurred from 2018 to 2019. Today, the mission is called 3 Adelaide, referred internally as Adelaide Street Mission, and is a part of the Church of the Good Shepherd's legacy. With the building completed, the diocese is now preparing to launch the new ministry center located at Cowdy and Adelaide Street in Kingston, Ontario. In April 2021, the diocese hired a community engagement coordinator, Taylor Lynch, to assess current needs, identify gaps in services, develop partnerships, and propose recommendations for the building. Diocesan leadership has expressed the hope that this center may be replicated for future missions and programming elsewhere in the diocese. To the left, you can see what the completed ministry center looks like today. This slide provides you with the ground and floor plans of the completed ministry center. There have been some delays in opening the building, but we have received the keys as of mid-August. Diocesan staff is working hard to make the building fully operational for future community groups. We are hoping to welcome our first groups in late fall or early winter. As mentioned earlier, the diocese hired a community engagement coordinator in April of 2021 as part of preparation of the opening of the building. During April and May, the community engagement coordinator began researching current community challenges and needs by consulting reports, community-based research, and census data, conducting interviews via phone, Zoom, and Teams with service providers, and attending virtual service provider and community check-ins, panels, and workshops. These findings, along with a full background of the project, were summarized and reported in the preliminary report circulated in May to Synod Council and interested community partners. In June 2021, the Community Engagement Coordinator embarked on the second phase of research by gathering feedback from neighborhood residents and unaffiliated community members. Once the provincial stay-at-home order lifted on June 2nd, the Community Engagement Coordinator began volunteering with agencies or visiting facilities to meet individuals and get a sense of the needs of the neighborhood firsthand. She also gathered community feedback from Facebook, an online survey, an online visioning session, and interviews, both in person and virtually or by phone. The culmination of research in Phase 1 and Phase 2 informed the final recommendation report circulated to Synod Council and interested community members in July. Once the final recommendation report was submitted, diocesan leadership next tasked the Community Engagement Coordinator with organizing a steering committee of 6 to 8 members whose community involvement, experience, and expertise would contribute to the overall development of the ministry center. The diocese's intention was for members to help make strategic decisions about the direction, identity, processes, and policies of the new space and its programming. The diocese is committed to building maintenance and management so that the steering committee can focus on overall mission and programming considerations. Favoring an incremental approach, the steering committee decided the building should not initially be used for new programming, but as a space for existing community groups that align with the center's identity. The community engagement research provided a snapshot of the ministry center's neighborhood. The building is located in the Inner Harbor neighborhood, in an area of Kingston sometimes referred to as north of Princess. The research describes a community in transition that is increasingly being impacted by gentrification and characterized by mixed demographics. The national housing crisis is particularly felt in the Inner Harbor neighborhood, as the housing stock is considered aging and at times in poor condition. The neighborhood is also within walking distance to many social service providers. The Community Engagement Coordinator also identified challenges impacting the ministry center's neighborhood, including food insecurity, lack of affordable housing, and the increase of mental illness and addictions. A full discussion of community challenges can be found in the preliminary and final recommendation reports. Another theme that emerged was loneliness. Whereas service provider interviews and community-based research from Phase 1 often spoke to the need for system navigation assistance, in addition to social or engagement opportunities, most of the community feedback or suggestions in Phase 2 gathered by the Community Engagement Coordinator focused on social programming and the need for social connection post-pandemic. An opportunity to hang out, chat, play cards or games, and access crafts or art activities were common suggestions. A desire to connect was shared across demographics, as people expressed a longing to socialize and reconnect with friends. Once the steering committee was formed, discussions were had about renaming the building. The Ministry Center has been called various names since the diocese partnered with Habitat for Humanity. By the time the Community Engagement Coordinator came on board, the building was being referred to as the Adelaide Street Mission. The use of mission was flagged as potentially triggering to some in the community, especially given the recent findings of unmarked graves at numerous former residential schools during the summer of 2021. Renaming the building therefore became a priority of the steering committee. The steering committee settled on 3 Adelaide, since it incorporated the address, making it easily identifiable. The 3 in the new name also mirrored the 3 core values, while also alluding to the Trinity without being overtly Christian. The Adelaide Street mission may still be used internally to refer to the project. The steering committee's main task to date was identifying the ministry center's focus. This slide includes the mission, vision, and value statements written by steering committee members, in addition to the new logo. Our mission is to provide a safe, welcoming, and accessible gathering space in which community members can foster resiliency through empowering supports, services, and programs. We envision a community where diverse individuals journey together towards a just, equitable, and caring world. 3 Adelaide is home to programs and activities that are relational, trauma-informed, and restorative. The steering committee was sensitive to the fact that while these terms are well known within the social service field, general community members may be less familiar with relational, trauma-informed, and restorative. As such, the steering committee came up with definitions within the context of the ministry center's identity, which you can see on the screen here. The steering committee envisions the values as a Venn diagram. In the middle of the diagram contains the phrases bridging gaps, connecting individuals, and building on community strengths and partnerships. These phrases represent the commonality between the 3 core values and how the space can put the values into practice. The mission, vision, and value statements were presented to Synod Council in September, along with an update report. Now that the ministry center's identity has been established, the steering committee is eager to begin taking the next steps to make the building fully operational. Things to consider as we move forward in the work include identification of revenue, operational, governance, and staffing requirements, ongoing outreach and marketing, and the development of measurement and evaluation mechanisms. This work will unfold over the coming months. Thank you for your time. If you'd like to know more about 3 Adelaide or get involved with the project, please contact Taylor Lynch, Community Engagement Coordinator, at tlynch@ontario.anglican.ca. A full list of sources consulted can be found in the preliminary and final recommendation reports.